Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another indie author behind the scenes video. Today I have someone I'm super excited to actually chat with live for the first time. I have Caitlinjoyful on. Caitlin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited, and it's such an honor to have you on. For those who don't know, Caitlin has been just a huge member of the indie author community in general, reading and reviewing books and talking about them on your Bookstagram and your BookTube, and so involved in the community. So super happy to have you on because we're going to be talking about author branding, which is one of your specialties. So Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found indie books and what got you into the indie book side?
Yeah, well, it was I found your book first. You were the first indie author that I discovered and read. So that was really cool. And yeah, I found it was the cover reveal for The Vow That Twisted Fate. And I I fell in love with that cover. The original cover was they're both stunning, but yeah, I fell in love with that cover. And I think it was like a few weeks later, you asked me to be a part of the Arc and Street team, and yeah, that was kind of the first introduction to indie authors and indie books. And yeah, I it's so amazing being able to read books that aren't like being traditionally published, because just one person reading and reviewing an indie book means so much to the author. So I love being able to do that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. I'm so touched. Like, I'm so excited. I know starting out as an indie, finding anybody to be on your ARC team is a big deal. And a lot of how I connected with you, I think of how I connected with a lot of people was because of an Instagram account that I started that my mentor was like, you've got to go get on Instagram if you're going to write epic fantasy because you need to find the platform where your readers are. And that's where you need to start building. And I didn't have an Instagram before my books. And so I was like, I don't really want to go do Instagram. I'm not, very artsy. I don't do a whole lot of makeup stuff. She's like, oh no, Bookstagram is totally different than the rest of Instagram. So you need to go find other writers who write what you write, find out where they're hanging out, see what they post about, and then that'll give you an idea of what readers are going to expect. But man, has social media changed from when
Yeah,
we first started. Like I started in 2020, and now it feels like a totally different
yeah.
ballpark. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts would be sort of on how authors should approach starting out social media from a reader's perspective. Like if you saw a brand new author, what would you be expecting to see on their account sort of in 2024?
Yeah, I it's it depends, because if it's someone that already has already published a book, I would kind of, but had a small Instagram platform, didn't post have many posts, I would expect a few posts about their book, or if they've got a book coming out, some stuff about that book, just something. It doesn't have to look like amazing. It just has to be enough that um, can pull you in and
Mm-hmm.
attract you, make you want to read the book. Because I see so many posts on Instagram of authors with that have just started out writing and are publishing a book and don't post much about said book, and that kind of makes me think, or not makes me think, it makes me a bit confused. Like, I don't know what their book is about. I don't know whether I would like it or not. Because you can go over to whatever platform you use, like Goodreads or Storygraph or whatever you use, and look the book up. But it is so much easier to just be able to read a blurb and see a cover on an Instagram post. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would expect like a cover and a blurb and maybe like a few quotes or some stuff about the characters.
Yeah, yeah. So don't be shy introducing the fact that you have a book.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. And it doesn't have to be when you say super pretty. So if someone's coming in and they're like, "Oh, this is a lot," especially for people going like over to TikTok, they're
Yeah.
like, "That's a lot." You're
Yeah.
not necessarily expected to make a perfectly choreographed song and dance to get your TikTok going.
No. No. Oh goodness, I don't think I'd be very good at that.
I think there's such a important piece here going back and looking to where your audience actually is too
Yeah.
before jumping into one. Like I said, I'm on Facebook, but realized very quickly that Facebook it was not reaching the level of readers that Instagram was, and at the same time, the approach has changed. You know, when I started Instagram in 2020, it was make pretty book related content. I got a Canva and I'm designing, these book posts and
Yeah.
they're very professional looking. And lately people seem to like sort of going back to that older style with, hey, here's my book and I'm a selfie picture and like
Yeah.
this is a real person. Where do you feel like that balances between having like one of the pretty ones where it's maybe the cover and then call outs to the tropes in the book versus this shift back into the older selfie style photos?
Having a good mix will really help. Um, because like you said, it's showing that this is a real person that is behind the account. Um, so yeah, kind of posting in between like one really nice post and then the next post you do is like a selfie post or not even maybe it's not even one with your book in it. It's just something whether you went out for coffee that week or you went out on a nice walk and you saw something and you were like, this is stunning. I really like to take a picture of this and put it up on Instagram. Just kind of making sure that you have a good mix of everything so that it's not just consistently the same content because you will eventually and quite quickly run out of the content and the content ideas won't come and that sucks.
Yes, it does. And that actually leads me into one of the questions that we chatted about before coming into the live, which was how to not burn out. Because really, you get in, and I feel like at first you get excited. And you're like, I could talk about the characters, I could talk about the world, and I could talk about their favorite foods and their pets and all this stuff. And then 2 or 3 years down the line, you're still writing, you're still putting out books, but the glamour has worn off from the
Yeah.
writer side. And you're like, what do I even put out anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to get burnt out when you're posting basically the same things. Um, so reusing old content is probably the best way to go about it, and just maybe changing the color or adding a different font. But yeah, reusing content from say you go 2-3 months and then you need to like batch make a load of new content, go back, look over what you've posted and that did good, and you can take what did good and give it a twist and then put it back out there. And it's something new. So long as it doesn't look exactly the same, it's going to be something new. And yeah, batch creating. That's always what's
Mm.
coming for me, getting ahead of myself. I always try and work at least 2 to 4 weeks in advance so that I'm not getting up to like a Sunday night and thinking I have nothing prepared for this week. I'm just gonna have to wing it all week. That sucks, and that can be one of the easiest ways that I have found to burn out, because having to make, edit, and post, and then write captions and figure out hashtags on the day, it takes up
Mhm.
so much time and it leaves
Yeah.
no time for anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I completely agree. When I went through the phase where I was posting every day, I definitely set aside a weekend and just batch created for the whole month. And
yeah,
then went into like Instagram has a creator studio where you could sign up. So if you're doing this as an author, definitely invest. I mean, it's free. Invest the time in switching over to the professional so that you can use like the creator studio, but you
yeah,
could schedule your post to post, and then I would just randomly interject, real everyday posts or stories here or there.
yeah,
Um, is a huge help. But that too, no longer always is the case depending on the platform. Instagram doesn't ding you for not posting every day anymore like it used to.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that I can come in a couple times a week and maintain a lot of the um, traction that I was having before, as long as I'm still engaging with my readers through the week.
Yeah.
And it's like they've given more weight to the fact of, are you being engaged? Or are you looking at this as like an advertising platform where it's one way only? So, Caitlin, I'm curious your experience and your thoughts as far as right now, because of course this could change with algorithms. How often, as a reader, you expect to hear from an author about something, bookish or their life or whatever, before you go, you know what, I'm going to unfollow you. You're just not active.
Yeah, I like to kind of see something bookish from an author like a minimum of 1 to 2 times a week. Even if that's like Monday and Friday, it doesn't have to be, or even on the same day, But yeah, if I go a month, at least, and an author hasn't posted something bookish, I'm a bit like, yeah, I don't think. And it's different for, like, there are some authors that I absolutely love that might not post something bookish for a while and I won't unfollow them. And then there are other authors that I would unfollow. But it's always nice, even if it's not a post and it's just a story, that's amazing, because it's so, like, the amount of times an author I like will post a grid post and I won't comment. I'll like it, but I won't comment. But then I will go into their stories and they've posted something similar along the same lines and I'll reply to them is sky high. I tend to prefer that more to commenting on posts. So long as they're kind of posting on their stories at least like once a day, even if it's just sharing someone else's posts, that's always nice.
Yeah, so it's not just the one post. It's, you can post it frequently, but try to vary it up
Yeah.
for your different followers. Because I know some people, they love the videos. Some people prefer the photos. Some people prefer the stories. And you don't really want to leave any of those people out.
No, you kind of want like a mix of all three.
Yeah, yeah. And so when it comes to algorithms, I don't know that if anybody ever actually cracked the algorithms and wanted to give that information away, they'd probably be rich. But I feel like it always changes. Just when you get comfortable with it, it changes again. Um, when do you think an author, though, should look at something and say, oh, it's changing, I need to change my approach?
Probably around the time that the majority of their engagement is coming from followers, but it's still a small number. Say they've got like a platform that has over 200, 300 followers, but the engagement they're getting is from like 150 less. That usually means Instagram is not pushing your content to new people or your followers. And it is only the followers that will like actively every day check your posts, check your stories, watch your reels. That's usually when I start to go, okay, people need to start. That's when I would suggest looking at what's doing well and having a little meddle with things and switching it up a bit.
Yeah. And I know that you've helped some authors and some other brands in the past, like with their content. When do you think someone should consider approaching help? Is that something they should approach someone for in the beginning, and then once they have an idea of what they do, then they do it on their own? Or should they try it on their own and then reach out for help?
It kind of depends on the person. A lot of the people that I've helped with content are neurodivergent, so they are autistic or have ADHD, and I'm autistic, and so I can find it really hard to like focus and know what I want. So if you want a bit of help figuring things out and maybe help making the content, then maybe looking into a small business that would offer like content templates for you to buy, or a freelancer that will have like a Zoom call and go through and kind of figure out what you want your Instagram or your any of your socials to look like. But yeah, it can depend on the person. Some people will start an account and kind of go at it for a while. I would suggest doing that and having a try and seeing how you do, because you might find that you don't need any help and
Mm.
you really enjoy the that side of it. Or you might find that you just need a little bit of help, just a little nudge. And yeah, it really depends on the person. So I would suggest trying it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's so true, especially when you've got a big push, that just because you're reaching out for help with one aspect doesn't mean that you have to hire like someone who's going to manage your entire account for you. There's different levels. There's freelancers who do design.
Yeah,
Like, um, I think we had Courtney Cannon on, and Fiction Atlas does various levels of marketing too. And when I was pushing Lord's Gambit last spring and I was planning on releasing all 5 of those books back to back, I knew I was not going to have time to revise the books, to create the content, to post the content and everything on my own. So I used the scheduler to post,
yeah,
and I hired Courtney with Fiction Atlas, not for content, because I found out the content wasn't really that bad, but I asked Courtney for help organizing book tours
yeah,
and launch party, because at some point at the end of the day there's only so many hours you have, and so many indie authors have full-time jobs on the
yeah,
side. So it's like where you're going to invest your time,
yeah,
compare maybe how much it costs to do something, and then say, okay, in terms of my time, what can I take on myself that I enjoy and I think I do well, versus what you could outsource for a little bit of help
yeah,
with something that does take you a lot of time, or something you don't enjoy, or something that you're struggling with. Because even if you're good at it, if you hate doing it, I think personally as a reader, that comes through to me on someone's
yeah,
post.
yeah. It does. It does. And even if you hire, or even if you work with, say, a freelancer to create the content, you don't have to get someone to schedule it for you. Like you said, just use a scheduling platform. Take an hour out of your day in the evening before bed, maybe, and just sit down and schedule out all your posts. And then you can schedule for a month and then it's done. And you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
think about it for another month. You don't need to hire someone in to do everything for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that leads to the question that I know people are probably like, man, we're talking scheduling content years down the road and all this stuff, of why author branding and social media matters in 2024. I think with a lot of the changes since like the last couple of years, um, people are getting frustrated and they're vanishing and they're just leaving social media, and it's like, I'm gone, bye readers. And they're leaving that whole set of their readers behind. They're overwhelmed. They're not seeing results. A whole bunch of reasons. So why does it matter that an author have a strong social media presence?
Yeah, it helps connect with readers. That's probably the biggest one. Like we said at the beginning, I found your books through Instagram,
Mm,
and there's so many different situations like that where readers have found the amount of authors that I have found and books that I absolutely love that I found because of social media is insane when I stop and think about it. So yeah, it helps you connect with readers because it's a platform that is all over the world, and so there's so many people that are going to see it. But as well, it's your branding is your identity,
mm,
and it's the first thing that a reader is going to click on your profile, and that's what they're going to see.
mm,
And if it's something that looks just nice, it doesn't have to look professional, like I said, it's just nice, then a reader, most like 9 times out of 10, a reader is going to go, oh, I'm going to follow that person because their book looks amazing, they've got a good social media presence, they look like a lovely person. Yeah, it having the social media presence just helps that it gives you that extra bit of that extra edge and helps you stand
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, the authority. I feel like in a way, like if you Google a business and they don't have a social media, you're like, and I feel like indie authorship is quickly becoming that way. Although I'm not necessarily saying you have to be on all the social platforms.
No.
Just like if I pull up an author and they have no platform at all, it's
Yeah.
like, well, why do you have no platform at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah. And it's not like you have to be on your platform all the time. You can
Yeah.
take breaks. That's another thing to keep from getting burnt out, is just taking like a week or a month off. Say you're doing an author that I follow is doing the final draft of her book at the moment. She's finishing that, and she is taking time off social media to focus on finishing that. So you can take breaks, but it is best, I would say, to have a social media account, even if you're posting on it like once or twice a week. Just
Mm,
having the account will help your book get discovered by readers.
yeah, I completely agree. And if you're not sure where to go for your social media account, I encourage you as a writer to take my mentor's advice. Thank you, Lindsay, if you're watching. And not look at the Instagram or whatever that you're comfortable on, but go Google the authors who write in your genre and see where they are, because chances are that is also where their readers are. And spoilers, you probably have the same readers. So you're going to want to be on the same platforms or similar platforms. Um, but yeah, it could be scary, learning a platform, nothing about. But now there's resources on like YouTube, and you could go and be like book talk, bookstagram,
Yeah.
um, and do all of that. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining and chatting with me about all of this. This has been great.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
Thank you. And everybody, if you're watching and you have not taken the plunge into author social media yet, definitely go check out Caitlin's links. They're in the description box, because Caitlin not only has a great social media presence as a reader and a reviewer and a book lover, but she follows a lot of authors who are active. So you could sort of connect through Caitlin to some other indie authors and see what they're doing on their socials, get involved. But thank you all so much. It's been great having you on, and we will see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.